How early before the impact did you see the cyclist?
This incident happened between York Place and Broughton Street in Edinburgh. My viewer is a young driver. He only passed his test in March this year. He actually told me that he didn't even see the cyclist impact against his car until he watched the dashcam footage. The cyclist was injured, but thankfully not too seriously, and was taken on a stretcher by ambulance to hospital.
My viewer was driving at a brilliant speed and had loads of space around them. At just before 6 PM in a busy city, you're always going to have a lot of hazards, and junctions are the biggest danger area. Have you spotted the cyclist yet? Well, if you haven't, I'll point them out. They've just filtered through the traffic and they're moving through the red light on their side. Now I've pointed them out, you could see them, but did you miss them first time round?
There's no way in the world I'm apportioning any blame to the motorist. It's totally the cyclist's fault, but as normal, we're going to look at the footage and see whether anything could have been done differently.
Now let's have a look how the cyclist was easily missed. While driving, we should be assessing risk. Let's have a little look to see what I think was prioritised. At this point, the pedestrian to the right is no issue, but you can just about make out the other pedestrian to the left who is likely to be utilising the space between us and the vehicle in front. And now that's happened, it's the second group of pedestrians on the left-hand side that I think my viewer was concentrating on. And this is absolutely the correct thing to do. You should be prioritising danger, and that's the biggest risk. There's no reason to be looking over there to the cyclist while the biggest danger is really close. A few frames further up, you can see not much has changed. There's a guy stood still on the right hand side, and at this point I think that's the most likely time for the cyclist to have been spotted. But because there's pedestrians to the other side, it's understandable why they were missed. You've always got to make sure that the people directly in front of you don't trip and fall also. At this point my view is definitely through the lights, and the risk of pedestrians has gone. There's a car that's turning left from the junction on the right hand side, but the rest of the traffic is still. There shouldn't be any issues from the opposite side either, because of the roadworks. Have you forgotten about the cyclist yet? You can just about make out his front wheel in between these two pedestrians to the right. And at this particular moment he's pointed directly at my viewer. Surely my viewer's car hasn't been blocked by these pedestrians. And now the cyclist is going to ride behind this planter, which is the perfect size to obscure him from my viewer totally. There's one last thing I'd like to point out, so we need to back up a little. We're going to focus on how little this cyclist planned his red light jump. I'd like you to see how late they went for the brakes. And it looks as though they missed it. This is another situation which backs up my belief that dropped handlebarred bikes aren't suitable for road use in situations like this.
So the cyclist is 100% to blame, and it's unreasonable for any motorist to look after the more vulnerable in a situation like this if they ride in such a manner. The new hierarchy of road users set out in the Highway Code categorically states the hierarchy does not remove the need for everyone to behave responsibly. I quite often hear cyclists saying that jumping red lights, they're the only people who are going to get killed or seriously injured, and this is a terribly selfish attitude. It is true that cyclists are the only ones who are going to get physically affected in an accident like this, but that isn't telling the full story. This is something that a number of my viewers know about because I have mentioned it in the comment section before. But over 20 years ago, one of my family members innocently killed a cyclist after the cyclist had jumped a red light. My family member had a nervous breakdown. They lost their job, they lost their house, they lost their marriage, and have had multiple attempts to take their own life. This scenario is not uncommon either. Another friend of the family innocently killed a road worker when the road worker stepped out from behind a lorry putting cones out on a major dual carriageway. Even recently, one of my viewers shared a story in the comment section where a lorry driver innocently killed one of my viewers' young relatives, and because of this incident they went on to take their own life. It's not just the motorists who are affected in collisions and accidents like this. Think of the families also. I hope these stories make at least one person curb their selfish behaviour. My viewer in the clip is currently trying to recover compensation for the damage sustained to his vehicle, but the cyclist is yet to respond. In another video quite soon, I'm going to document the process where a different viewer has successfully taken a cyclist to court after a similar situation happened to them. Keep safe, I'll see you all soon.